This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Welcome to Wandering Grey Bruce. I'm your host, Krista McKee. Today is March the 29th, believe it or not. There's snow on the ground, and we are here at Lake Eugenia, and I think we've all grown feathers. We have gone to the birds, and what they say, birds flock together, the humans will follow, and that's what we're doing today. It's all about migration. Here with me is David Turner. He is Mr. Flesherton. He is going to show us what is here at Lake Eugenia. I'm in awe of what you have found here. It is just stunning. Tell the people what you have come across here.
So far we've come across 156 species of birds.
Wow.
In the springtime, it's a main staging spot for waterfowl, mainly swans and ducks. As you can see on the other side of the lake, we've got several hundred tundra swans, and this is an annual migration and staging spot for them. And on this side, on the more shallow side, is where the ducks come, and a little further out the diving ducks. So right now we've got ring-billed ducks, the ubiquitous Canada geese, of course, lots of different mergansers, and other ducks are starting to arrive now. The widgeon and the bufflehead are still here. But
well, I never knew about the tundra swans. I've become hooked. All my life, you hear about migration. The birds come, everyone gets excited when they see the first robin.
Yeah.
But this is such a bigger caliber, right? These geese they're huge.
Yeah, the swans come in. This is the second wave we've had. The first wave was around 100 or so, and there's around 400 here now. And every year they stage here on their migration to the tundra, up into the breeding grounds, and they come here to stock up for a few days and feed. And it's usually around this time of year, but you have to be on your guard, because last week, like I say, there was about 100 out. I came out, the next day I came out to show my wife, and every one of them was gone.
Was gone. So you mentioned this is kind of their way back north. So where did they actually winter?
They go down around the Gulf and in the southern part of the US, and through the central parts of the US, where the feeding grounds are still good.
Right. So do these guys, when they start migrating up, you said this is a spot where they're going to rest and feed and whatever, and Lake Eugenia seems to be the perfect spot for them, right? That's why they're here.
Yeah.
And probably because of the drawdown of the lake, it provides quicker access to food.
Yeah, quicker access to food. The food is closer because the water's quite shallow. They draw the lake down, of course, so it doesn't overfill in the spring. Right. And then when it starts to fill back up, their food is very, very accessible. And these guys are going cross-continent. So they're going to be heading towards Alaska and the sort of northwestern part of the tundra, mainly.
Wow. So then any idea how long it actually takes them? Like, when they go south, and by the time they arrive north, their breeding would be in April or May?
Well, May. They're going to take a little while to get. They'll get up and they'll establish territories, and then they'll find the mates. Swans are some of those birds that mate for life if they can. And they'll find the territory, and then they'll start preparing the nest and start breeding. But they have to wait, of course, until the food is accessible, so the frost is off the top of the land.
Right.
So because it's such a large journey, they want to stage and feed on the way, and they'll feed a lot more when it's cold because they need more calories to keep warm as well. So.
Okay. So then when they do get north, they just have one brood then because of the short season.
Short season, and then they'll start to head back.
Wow, that's amazing, because when they're up there, right, their offspring still has to have time to feather out.
Right.
And so there's a real precise timing to this whole flight and brood and the whole works. So
they have to get the time in. They have to be well fed by the time they get there. But a day like today, we'll hold them here for a little while because it's cold. When the warm winds come, which is why the first wave left so early, they arrived on some warm winds. It was beautiful, so they just carried on heading north.
Now, do these guys fly in during the day or at night?
During the day, the ones that I've seen, and like they come in and they roost overnight on the edge and on the ice. They'll come up onto the side and roost and go to sleep out there. And then sometimes during the day you'll come and they won't be here. They'll have gone out to a field because they like to feed on some of the cornfields.
Oh.
They're basically gleaning what was left from the harvest last year.
Yeah. Oh, wow, amazing. Like I when you start reading about the different bird migrations, I never realized that songbirds all migrate at night.
Yeah.
And who would have thought? You would think that they would have needed the daylight to know where they're going, et cetera, but a lot of them go by star and moonlight and do their migration, where these guys, they like the daylight, and there's some fabulous ones moving around there right now.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yes.
And like the tundra along with the trumpet swan are our indigenous swans. We have some trumpeter swans out here as well. Also, we have the invasive mute swan. There used to be a few pairs of tundras would stay for a while here, trumpeters, sorry, but the mute swans are so aggressive they chase them off.
Really?
Yeah.
So that's the alpha of the...
Yeah, and that was introduced from Europe by Europeans. That's the one that everybody knows with the orange beak and the big bulbous on it, but they're quite an aggressive bird, and they really... were part of the decline of the trumpeter swan.
Okay.
It's chasing them out of the habitat.
Right. So is there many species here that actually do not belong, like the ones that you've just mentioned? Are there other species of birds that were brought in to help with something? That, like, one that comes to mind is the starlings. The European starlings, like
which are everywhere.
Yes, they are.
Originally from 12 birds, they've populated North America, and the house sparrow is here too, which is around the lake. It's mainly around the barns on the farms, the house sparrows. Yeah. But here, no, and we've just started to see cormorants come back on to the lake. They haven't been here for a while. A conservationist success story.
I know. It's like, man, I know. But yeah, it has a purpose, and yeah.
And although cormorants eat a lot of invasive fish species.
The gobies.
The gobies. They're really good at cleaning out the gobies, and they are a native bird to us here. So. Yeah. See, that's the one we should be looking after, and maybe removing the mute swans, but the mute swan is a very beautiful creature, and people would never agree to culling that.
Oh, I know, and that's the thing, and it's when you see them by the hundreds here, and they're on these little pockets of islands because of the drawdown of Lake Eugenia. They're out there, and they're flapping their wings. They're huge.
Yeah,
like their wingspan must be 6 to 7 feet across.
Yeah, and the tundra is the smallest species of swan that we have. The trumpeter is roughly the size of a mute swan, and the mute swan is very large. Yeah, and they can be quite dangerous. They have enough power in the wings to break a limb.
Wow.
And they're very aggressive about maintain the nest, more so than geese even.
Yeah. Well, and that would be more so probably when they are sitting on a nest.
Yeah.
The aggressiveness, yeah. But I still wouldn't want to go out in a canoe. That would be a no-no, especially in the birding ethics, right?
Yeah, in birding ethics you need to stay away, which is why we're all armed with binoculars and scopes and stuff, so you can keep a good distance from the bird and observe them in the natural habitat. And this habitat is great because as the water rises, the swans will be moving on soon. Really, the only ducks that are going to stay here and breed are going to be the mallards, the black ducks, and the Canada geese will stay here. But then other birds move in. Sandhill cranes move in here, and then a lot of the finches. Like you said, the migrating songbirds will start to arrive back here. Some sparrows already have, but. On some of the side roads around where the wetlands are, there's good habitat there. Virginia rail and soarers are here, and lots of good warblers that could pass through, and a few of them stay.
Right, and I noticed the osprey nest that's here. So if you're looking for an opportunity to see an osprey, he's not here, or they're not here yet.
No.
The mating pair, but here where we stand on the causeway, which is the road that splits the Eugenia Lake in half, there is an awesome osprey nest right hanging over the road.
Right on the road, yeah.
Yeah, and
they've become used to humans, and in the 30 years I've lived here, there's been a nest in that box every year. Every year. And in a couple of other spots on the lake, there's a couple of other pairs. We also have resident bald eagles nesting on the lake too.
Oh, and I am so impressed with the numbers of bald eagles. I was so excited this year. Actually, it was in the fall, and there was 2 of them trying to navigate a really heavy wind, and they just kind of it was like a kite watching them, and it was just, I was in awe because at one point in time, you know, there was only a few pairs of bald eagles.
Bald eagles,
now they've really done so well since we've kind of got a handle on our pesticide management and stuff like that, right?
and they're nesting right now. They're building their nests and starting to get ready to incubate now.
Wow.
They're one of the early birds that does, along with owls and ravens. And here you often see territorial battles, like aerial bird fights in the sky.
Yes.
I've seen them coming across with the eagle upside down and the osprey on top of it, flying across the causeway here to fly.
Wow.
And last weekend we counted 8 bald eagles in the one time in.
Wow. But they would be local bald eagles,
Local
wouldn't
bald
they?
eagles. Yeah, they'll start to spread out a little because they have a very, very large range when they start to breed. So when they start to nest, they'll move a little further apart.
They will. Yeah, because they need that radius for hunting and teaching and that whole thing. So they work it out. But they don't kill each other though, right? Like,
not that I know of. I can't say they don't, but not that I know of.
But they work that out. But it's also interesting to see that they have to figure that out with red-tailed hawk. Like, there's just not them in the air, right?
There's just not them in there. Although they are the apex predator around here, the bald eagles. You'll see crows and ravens try to mob them and chase them off, and sometimes they succeed because they're like all birds protecting the territory, and they'll even. And I've seen on the lake here, I've seen bald eagles sitting in a tree being chased by a redwing blackbird.
By a redwing, but redwing blackbirds chase pretty much everything and anything,
and
like,
including people.
Yes, yes.
They will dive bomb you, and
they do. They're very protective, and that was kind of one. We had a redwing blackbird pair nesting at our place, and it was just on the edge of our pond that we have. And we were cutting the grass, and all of a sudden we were invaded by a redwing blackbird, and it was like, really, like but I guess it's protecting its
nest. I had one peck me right on top of the head. I was taking some photographs of some warblers over there, and I didn't see it, and it just came right at me.
It came right at you. Oh my word, goodness. Well, you are going to take us to some really cool spots. So we're going to leave Lake Eugenia, and but it's a must-to place to come and see. And David is going to take us to another spot because he's actually started a really cool business called Boots, Birds, and Breakfast. So we're going to learn more about that. So stay tuned, and we're going to be right back at a different location to see some cool birds.
Is this some kind of Canadian joke, sir? I mean, I know you're the instructor and everything, but when we can't carry the ball, how can we get a decent shot at the peach basket?
All right. Maybe we can allow a carry of a couple of steps.
And Mr. Naismith, sir, it sure slows things down having to climb up here every time.
Well, then let's cut the bottom out of the basket.
Ah, but I need these baskets back.
100 years after James Naismith from Almont, Ontario invented it, basketball was being played by hundreds of millions of people around the world.
What kind of show do you want to see on Rogers TV? What interests you? Log on to rogerstv.com, fill out a show proposal, and tell us about your segment idea. We want to know what you want to see. Rogers TV, only on Rogers.
So welcome back. We have moved from Lake Eugenia to this wonderful secret little spot that David has underneath his sleeve. It is a birder's paradise here. You mentioned that there are many species that come through here and stay here, and it's a hot spot for birders.
Yeah.
you started rhyming off a whole bunch of cool warblers that come in through here, but they're not quite here yet.
No, the warblers don't arrive until May. Like later on in May, they'll start fairly early in May with some of the species, and then later on, as more of the songbirds and finches are moving into the area and migrating north. This spot here, which is just north of Kimberley in the Beaver Valley, it boasts the most number of species of any hotspot in Grey County. So there's 186 species of birds been seen in this very small area.
Now, I can't even rhyme off 186 species, so I'm at your mercy here, because when you start talking the different families of warblers, and it's going right over my head. And I have to be honest, I downloaded the Audubon birding app on my cell phone, and it's fabulous.
Yeah.
You just have to kind of type in, or you push a color button on what you're looking for, and it certainly helps me, where David has everything just off the top of his head. I can't imagine 186 species coming through here.
Yeah, through this one small spot.
Yeah.
In the valley, I mean, I've found, and the Beaver Valley is a great spot for birding in many different locations. I've seen now 215 species of birds in the valley itself, and this one being the major location. You were talking about the app. There's a couple of other great apps
Is
too.
there?
Merlin.
Okay.
The Merlin app, which is free, which is put out by Cornell Ornithology Labs at Cornell University.
That's right, yes.
And those apps, along with the Audubon one, they also have calls. So sometimes you'll hear a bird and you won't be able to quite find it, but then you can identify it from its call.
Right, yeah, because a lot of the times I can't find it. I can hear it, but yeah, I have no idea. Now, how are you able to find a call on an app? That would be my...
Right.
It'd be like, okay, this is like going fishing for...
There is an app that you can actually record the call, and it'll find out what it is for you.
Oh, perfect.
Or
okay.
you could say, like with your app, you might have got a glimpse of the bird, and then you can, if you think it's that bird, then play its call to see what it is.
Right, yeah.
So we've actually got there's an eastern meadowlark calling them behind us that you can hear at the minute.
Yes.
That really very melodic whistle.
Yes,
that's coming in. So that bird, you might be hard to spot initially, but you'll hear it, and then you can find it. And here, because of the great diversity, like in spring, if you come here mid-May, like 7 o'clock in the morning or just before for the dawn chorus, there it is literally completely filled with songbirds singing.
Wow.
It's really beautiful.
That would be nice, because with winter, there's nothing, right? And then the mornings start to become very loud, right? And so you mentioned coming in the morning. Is that the best time to go birding?
It can be, because once the weather's warmed up a little bit, the birds will start to sing as the sun comes over the horizon, and they're quite active because they've been sleeping all night, they're a little hungry, the insects start to come out, but you can find birds all through the day. I mean, especially during spring migration, they'll be moving all through the day. Birders really like to get up really early and go out birding, and I'm still not quite sure of that one. I mean, the dawn chorus is great, and and you will get a lot of birds then. But if you came out in the middle of the afternoon, you would still find the birds.
You would still find them.
Especially during migration, before the leaves come on the trees.
Yes.
When you can really spot them.
When you can spot them. And so right now is when they're starting to come through, up until May. Would be
the end of May, beginning of June,
when everything's leafed out.
Yeah, and then a lot of birds will have moved on into their breeding territories, but a lot of them this is their breeding territories they're coming back to. There are at least 3 species that warbler that nest here. There's a couple of vireo species that nest here, and quite a few different sparrows that nest here. So we do keep a lot of birds in the valley, but spring and fall migrations are generally the time to see them. And spring migration, because birders have been starving for birds all winter.
True.
And then they finally come back. And then, but we will lose some of the great ones. The shrike that's here now. There's a northern shrike here that's been hanging out here now.
Yes, that intrigues me. And that's the bird that's called the butcher?
The butcher bird.
The butcher. Go figure, the butcher. So it catches its food and puts it on a hawthorn tree.
Yeah, it'll impale it on spikes.
Impale it? What a word.
It impales it on on barbed wire fences, it'll do it, and also on hawthorn or buckthorn spikes.
Right.
And the loggerhead shrike, which is the summer shrike, does the same thing. In fact, all over the world, shrikes are named butcher birds for that practice.
For that. So they leave their food on to dry out, or is it just?
It's a stash. It's cash.
A stash.
Yeah.
It's
so
the
they can go
cash.
back and get them. Or they'll impale it and then eat it there, or eat it right away.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good grief. Nature's awesome, isn't it?
And the shrike is our only predatory songbird.
Predatory songbird.
Yeah,
yes.
it has a beautiful song. They both have quite interesting songs, but they're completely predatory birds.
Wow.
And the two species are almost impossible to tell apart unless you've done a lot of real study and get a really good view at them. One thing that is that in the wintertime it'll be a northern shrike. In the summertime, a loggerhead. The loggerhead has almost disappeared. I believe there's only 25 breeding pairs in eastern Canada right now.
Wow.
And most of them on the Alvars. Grey County used to be a stronghold, especially
Really?
Grey Highland, for the loggerhead shrike. But I don't know when the last time one was seen here. The only known one that I know of for sure is one of the municipal workers who works around this location about 3 years ago saw one in the summer singing on a post. So.
Wow. So development, what man has caused the numbers to decline?
Loss of habitat. They like shrubby, hawthorn, things like that. So with the development of properties and the changing in agricultural practices, it's removed a lot of their habitat.
Right, yeah. Like a lot of things, right?
Like a lot of things,
And
yeah.
then we've learned from our mistakes and we correct that in hopes that they come back. So to go back to birding, what are some of the staple things people should be, like you've got lovely binoculars. My binoculars look nothing like that. So what should a person have when they want to go out birding?
Well, a good pair of binoculars is the staple. So generally you're looking at which would be something like 842 or 1042.
Okay, well, what's an 840? What's an 8 and what's a 42?
Okay, so one is your magnification, one is your objective size. So the 8 is how many times, 8 times magnification, and the 42 is the objective lens, which is the size which lets the amount of light in. So you want one that lets a lot of light in. Most people are good with, I use 1042s because I have a fairly steady hand and that's a fairly big magnification. Okay. So the other thing that birders take a lot, I carry it with me at all times too, is a spotting scope for distance.
So that's kind of a long,
it looks like a telescope.
Lens.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And a tripod that it
and
sits on?
And a tripod, yes, because you won't be able to hold that in your hand.
Yeah.
Because the magnifications are very big on that.
So I see a lot of tripods are sometimes with 3 legs and some with just 1.
A monopod, yeah.
A monopod. So that's easier to go and run? Or?
Well, yeah, but you don't get the best results because you still get some movement while you're trying to hold it. Try a good heavy tripod.
A good heavy tripod would work.
My binoculars are also fitted with this, which is called a Bino Bandit, which I can take this off sometimes. I use this to keep the cold off my face as much as to keep the sun glare out.
That's it's the sun glare that would be appealing to me.
Yeah, and in the wintertime when it can be cold, especially if you're on the water, your eyes water often when you're trying to look through your binoculars, and this sort of helps with that.
Yeah, and I always have problems with glasses, right? Because you're trying to hold binoculars on top, and so that shade would be
that
perfect.
works. And with binoculars, they all turn in and out like this. So if you have glasses, you don't have to take glasses off with binoculars. You turn them in like this, and if you don't have binocular glasses, you pull them out.
Wonderful. So. Okay, so I need to go to that higher number. Okay, remember
and you don't have to spend a lot. I mean, you can spend a lot. You can spend $3,500 on a pair of binoculars, or just a couple of hundred, or a bit less, you know.
I know I looked through a pair of binoculars. A fellow that I worked with at Grey Saba Conservation had a pair that they adjusted to your eyesight. Yeah. They were probably the $3,500 ones. Yeah, you didn't have to adjust them at all. I just took off my glasses and I could see perfectly. It's like, wow, these are really good and really clear. Really good. Yeah,
and they're really clear around the edges and lightweight and waterproof.
Yes, that would be key, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
And also, in the bird bag, I also carry a camera for taking photographs for myself, rain pants, rain jacket because you never know what's going to go out. Yes. For my entire life, I would never wear a baseball cap until I started birding, and now I have a baseball cap to keep the glare off my face because you don't really want to have sunglasses on.
And water and snacks.
And water and snacks.
All those lovely things that go along with it. And appropriate footwear.
Yes, got to have good footwear and good socks because you stand around a lot.
Yes.
And even
yes.
when walking, my wife would say, I love birders, they're never in a rush to get anywhere. So you do stand around and your feet can get cold and good layers. But now the weather's starting to change and we'll hopefully be able to peel some of those
It
off.
is, but this morning when I got up to meet with you, I was in like a whole dilemma because I started dressing in layers and it's like, oh, the sun's supposed to come out, but is it going to be cold? How much snow's on the ground? What do I wear on my feet? It was just, ooh.
Be prepared.
I was be prepared, exactly. I have like a suitcase of stuff with me, so yeah.
I have a bag packed. It's my birding bag.
Your birding bag.
And it's got, you know, I have a cleaning equipment for the lenses, camera, binoculars, those things, spare socks, balaclava, baseball cap, snacks, cell phone.
Everything. So
everything. And so you can just grab it and go and carry it at all times.
Perfect. Yeah. That works well. So the business that you've started, because you are Mr. Flesherton and you know your art gallery and you just have so many contacts. You've been on council and now Boots, Birds and Breakfast. I think that's an absolutely fantastic name. Where is it taking off? How do people get in touch with you to start getting a little taste of birding? We've only just started it. A lady, Linda Reeder, whose idea this was, came to me and asked if I would be part, and I said yeah. So we've set up a Facebook page called Boots, Birds and Breakfast. Just finally got an email. Same email, or you can actually contact me through the art gallery. Right. Which is Flesherton Art Gallery. The Flesherton Art Gallery, so they can get in touch with you. So we're just getting that started because we'd like to expand the business because it's such a great area for nature. I mean, like we've been talking birds today, but there's great plants, great trees, some really unique flora here as well as fauna. It's a really good place to be in. And that's the Boots part of it. The Boots part. Okay, so where's the breakfast part? Well, the breakfast part is we meet at different locations, so people can go and get themselves breakfast or something to eat before we start off. Perfect. Yes. So last year my whole quest was about butter tarts. Not the greatest thing to have for breakfast, but there are some great eateries around here. Great butter tarts too. There are, yes. In Heathcote is yes, that was one of the spots we hit last year, and yes, and very good. That bakery's just moved. It moved onto the main street, so it's easier to find. Oh, perfect. Okay. Yeah, as long as it's still great eateries all through the valley and through the little villages. In Kimberley itself, there's a couple of great little eating spots. In Flesherton, where we meet. Yes. And wonderful. Yeah, just a good place to be. Yeah. Well, just quickly, people wanting to do foraging and stuff, there's some rules to abide by. One being, don't be digging on Conservation Authority properties. Yeah. No the 10% rule. Like, there's so many different aspects of the Boots part that you'll be educating people as well. So thank you very much, David, for letting us meet with you and share your spots. You're welcome. And we'll see you again next time on Wandering Grey Bruce.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
Hi, I'm David Sherman, host of Politically Speaking. Join me for my next show, where my guest will be Dwight Burley, the mayor of Georgian Bluffs, right here on Rogers TV.
After a night out with your friends, there's always options for getting home safely. You could call your BFF, your mom or dad, whoever you can count on for a safe ride home. You could call your favorite cab company or 1-888 taxi guy, or